Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Spanning the Need. I am your host, Anthony Spano. Tonight, we got a special guest, a person who loves to give back to the community and has, as you could tell, he's already drinking wine, so he's ready for our conversation. Five-time WBA and NBAF lightweight champion of the world, Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Ray, thank you for joining me tonight.
Anthony, thank you for having me, my friend. I really appreciate you having me.
Not a problem. It's been a while. I mean, the last time I think we talked was our charity boxing event about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Because of the pandemic and everything. And we'll cut. Yeah. And the phone rings.
I apologize.
This is what we do.
I'm gonna. All right, wait a minute. Hold on. That's it. Fort Pitt. Oh my.
Just unplug it.
That's it.
There we go.
Oh, shit.
Hold
on.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna unplug it. I'm gonna unhook. There we go. No more.
This is what happens when you have a little too much fun.
Okay.
Oh my God, this is too much fun.
You can't make this up.
You can't
make it up.
And we're leaving it in. We're leaving it in.
Better yet.
Ray, people know you well as a giver back to our community, as a boxer who basically was in that really was a competitive professional boxer in the 80s and looked at that. What I would like to give people a sense of is kind of talk about how you got started in boxing, that people may not realize how you got started and how you kind of go to where you were at that time.
Well, Anthony, most people will know. You don't, because you said, oh, Lenny Mancini's your father. I thought he was your cousin. Yeah, see, everyone else knows. You don't know. Andy,
I don't know. At least I was doing my research.
I said, Anthony, are you born in Youngstown?
Warren. I was born in Sharon.
No,
I was born in Sharon.
Born and raised in the area, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm not expecting. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be presumptuous that you know. No, I don't ever expect people to be presumptuous that people know my story. Right? No, but most people know that Lenny Mancini is my father, not my cousin or my uncle. So right there, look. My father was a fighter in the 30s and 40s. He went to New York in 1939, won the first, if not the first. At the time, there's another gentleman who was fighting, a terrific fighter, Jack Trammell, who was a heavyweight. He was a black heavyweight who was ranked number 3 in the world underneath Joe Louis. But at the time, it was hard to get a title fight. For black on black, it was hard to make money. So he didn't get a title shot against Joe Louis. And him and my father were the first. My father went first, and Jack came right after that. They were good friends. And then later on, Tommy Bell and Johnny Gennaro and so on. My father was everything I wanted to be as a man, as a fighter, as a father, everything. He was my hero growing up. And, people have their fathers and heroes. It's a beautiful thing. But, my father had a 5th grade education. He was working in General Fireproof. He wasn't a successful businessman, but he was everything I wanted to be as a man and as a fighter. And like I said, I used to read a scrapbook. He had a scrapbook. It was downstairs. Every once in a while, he'd bring it up and we'd read it. And I'd sneak down because it was put up on high on a shelf because it was, the pages were all tattered and torn, and you can't replace that. But I'd sneak down there with the flashlight, and I'd pull it down, and I'd read the pages and look at the pictures. And, I tell a story all the time. My favorite picture of my father, the picture of him after a fight, he's got a towel over his head. It's all sweaty. His hair is all ruffled. The one eye's completely closed. The other eye is swollen, not quite shut. Both lips are swollen and bloodied. And he won. And to me, it's the most beautiful picture I have of him. It's the most beautiful because I said, to me, that was everything. As a fighter, as a man, everything that I wanted to be. So I So I used to do that. And so when people used to say to me, what are you going to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be a fighter and a world champion for my father. And it's the truth. And people say, oh, isn't that cute? He wants to be a fighter for his father and stuff. But that's all I ever wanted to be. So, Anthony, I played all sports. I was a pretty good student. I played all sports in school, and I even took it till I was 18. But, I was waiting until I was old enough to fight in Golden Gloves at 16. Then I found out when I was 15 that they had Junior Olympics. So I was training for the Junior Olympics and fought in the Junior Olympics at 15, and I won them in Cleveland. And then next year I won the Golden Gloves in Youngstown in Cleveland. And then so my amateur career started. I held on to my but in high school I dropped playing basketball after my freshman year because it was just too much to go from after school, go train to box, come back, practice basketball, come home and try to get, doing my studies. It was just my body took a toll on my body. When I was after my sophomore year, I played football. Going into my junior year, I was practicing football at Cardinal Mooney, and we're a state powerhouse. And high school football in Northeastern Ohio, Western PA is like a religious right. You got to play, and I loved it. And I was slated as a starting tailback going into my junior year. But I'll never forget during the practice, I went in to see the coach. He called me in and he said, "Ray, you got to hit the weights." I said, "What?" He said, "You got to hit the weights." I said, "Hit the weights? I got to make weight." I can't. He says, I was a $132 defensive back tailback. And at that time, I never thought of, I was always thought it was the size of the dog in a fight, but not the fight, the fight in a dog, not the dog in a fight. I played and always smaller and lighter, but it didn't affect me. And then, I thought about it. I said, well, I want to be a fighter. Maybe it's time to focus on the gloves because the football ends in late November. But then, you start training, and the gloves are in January. You only got 2 months to train for the gloves. And I said, I want to focus on fighting. So I gave up playing football. The one sport I was able to hold on to was baseball because that's after all the tournaments and during the summer. There's not a lot of amateur boxing going on then. So I played baseball. But going into my senior year, after my senior year, going into my senior year, the spring of my senior year, I was playing baseball, but my mind was up, and I played summer, Class B, Connie Mack League, but I knew my mind was already going to New York, and I just wanted to finish the last year I was going to play, and I remember it's like it was yesterday. I remember my last bat at playing baseball. We were in the Connie Mack tournament in Springfield, Ohio. One game, a championship game. The winner goes to the World Series in Farmington, New Mexico. And we're down, and it's our last at bat. And I get up, and in my mind, I'm thinking this could be my last at bat, maybe. And what do you think? I foul out, and I foul. And fell off to first base and catch it. I said, man, that ain't the way I had in mind. It wasn't the Ted Williams way of hit a home run your last time.
It's not the Babe Ruth. It's not the Babe Ruth hit you were expecting.
No, it wasn't. So, but after that, I was kind of relieved because I was looking forward to going to New York. And so, finally, I left September 18th, 1979. I'll never forget, left out of Youngstown Airport. My parents took me to the airport. And my sister and the plane, my manager here. I was flying out. I was flying to New York to meet with everyone. My manager, my trainer. You said goodbye at the airport. You're crying. I'm crying like a baby. But I knew I'm doing the right thing. I had to go. And so get on that plane. The venture starts. It started that day. The venture starts. You're going for your goal. You're going for your dream. It started that day. And I landed in New York, and I just, I was prepared mentally. You prepare yourself what it's going to be like. And that's when it started. So, and I moved, and I got they had a car waiting for me. My manager was there, and we drove to I was living with my trainer, Murphy Griffith, at that time. I slept on his couch. That was, and to me, that's beautiful. That's the start. And so until I got enough money. I kept fighting. Not how to get enough money to get my own apartment, and that happened about 6 months later. But Anthony, my point being is, you have a dream, you have a goal, and I always talk about. One of the things I do is I travel the country and I do motivational talks to corporations, to colleges, schools. And one thing I tell them, the one thing I learned as a kid, but it still holds true: dreams without action are just air. They're just air. The pipe. It's just air, because dreams have to be put into motion. You only put anything in motion with action. So dreams on action are dead. They're dead. They're air. You have to put them into action. And what did I tell people? Whether you want to be an actor, you want to be a singer, you want to be a fighter, whatever you want to be, you got to go out. My parents taught me a long time ago. My father and mother taught me. I always say my father was my motivation. My mother was my inspiration. My mother made me believe I was 10 foot tall. My mother made me believe there's nothing I couldn't achieve in this life. My mother used to tell me the only limitations you have are those you put on yourself. So I never, I played all sports. And I never thought of being real limited.
Well, and one thing back then, fighting wasn't. Fighting was you. If I'm correct, you fought like almost every 3 to 6 months.
I was fighting. Well, I made my pro debut. One thing I'm proud of, Anthony, is I made my pro debut October 18th, 1979, back here in Youngstown. But then from there, my next second fight was first week of November in Phoenix, Arizona. Right after that, the end of November, I fought in Washington, D.C. And then December, the second week of December, I fought in Dallas, Texas. So my manager was moving me around, bouncing me around the country, and I've looked at it, later on after I went to Telltale, how many guys said, I saw you in your fourth fight when you fought in Dallas. And that was the idea of it. And then right after that, Christmas, I had, again, my fifth fight was back here in Camel, Ohio, at Camel Memorial. And I always tell people that it's the only fight I was embarrassed about. Embarrassed with my opponent. They were giving me the right opponents at the time. I was beating guys. Like the second fight when I fought a guy at Phoenix, guy named Lou Daniels, guy he was from Los Angeles, tough guy. Boom! I drop him in the second round. He gets up. Go boom, boom, boom. We go boom! I drop him again in the fourth round. He gets up. Now you have to understand, the Phoenix is he looks over and his trainer at the time was a guy named Jimmy Montoya. Jimmy and I became really good friends. One of the best trainers. But Jimmy was a guy that, what do you need? You want a guy to give you 2 rounds, 4 rounds, 6 rounds? What do you need? I got every type of guy. So he gave us, Lou Daniels. So Lou Daniels, I dropped in the second round, looks over. Jimmy said, get up. Gets up. Fourth round, I drop. He looks over. He goes, get up. The sixth round, I go out to boom, boom. I drop him again. He looks over, and Jimmy says, you don't get paid if you don't get up. The guy got up. What the distance? For me, it was the best thing. I went 6 rounds, my second pro fight, which as a fighter, you want to know if you can go the distance. But and then all of a sudden, I never experienced this. They started throwing money. Money was being thrown in the ring. I mean, I was like, I never experienced that. And out west, that shows appreciation for the fight because it was a real good fight.
Oh, okay.
The appreciation. They throw money into the ring. And I'm like, you got my gloves on. Let's get it. My manager said, relax. Let him have the money.
Get that pan of water out, dump the water out, and start throwing the money in the
So let him have the money. So what I'm saying is, and then again, so the reason I tell you the story, because then my fifth fight here at Camel Memorial, I fight a guy. I'll think of his name in a minute. I can't think of his name. Maybe it's you. He looked like Charles Manson. Hair down the ear. He didn't even look like a fighter. At least you want a fighting guy looks like a fighter, right? Dangerous Dell. Dangerous Dell's. Dangerous Dell. Something's last. I can't think of his last name. And I was like, I went down there and I hit him with a body shot, boom, and he went down and he wouldn't get up. It was like, I was embarrassed, man. It was the only fight I was ever embarrassed, right? But 4 days later, I go down, to St. John's Arena in Steubenville, Ohio, and I fight, and I knocked the guy like in the second or third round. And then a week later, after that, I fight in Indianapolis, and I fight a guy who was undefeated also. At that point, I'm 4-0. No, I'm 6-0. He's 7-0, and we fight. And at the weigh-in, he's chirping and chirping. And you know, I hadn't experienced that in a long time. And I'll never forget my trainer said, "Okay, no problem, man. We'll see you in the ring." And Griff, my trainer said, "Ray, this boy's scared. We're going to do a number on him." When after this came, his name was Charlie Evans from Nebraska. Box, good round, good boxer, and I'm missing all punches. At the end of the first round, I jump in with a left hook, tap it on the chin. He goes back, falls face first, and the bell rings. So as people go out to grab, because you're let it, you know. So so they go out, pick him up at the, you know, at the end of the first round. My man said, Griff said, "Ray, you jump on, you don't get him a chance to breathe." Bell ring, I was sprinted over across, didn't even let him out of his corner. Bing, 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 bing. Boom, he falls down like timber, you know. And I win by knockout. So I win, I'm 7-0 now. And I beat a guy who was undefeated. So I'm climbing the charts, my point. So let me ask you this.
Yeah. And you did that when you beat Charles Evans, you did that in January of 1980, which I would have been, I think, like a month and a half, because I was born in '79 in December. So I was just born. When you're doing all these fights, when you're first starting out, does that give you the confidence you need to really say, you know what, I can take this to the next level?
Oh, you know, there's no level, there's no doubt. You know, every day. Look, when you become a pro, there's certain steps. Like I was fighting guys that if they would come on Olympics, they'd be fighting these type of guys. You're not fighting world beaters, but they're fighting the right guys. Look, I had 7 fights in 4 months. My first 4 months, I had 7 fights.
They only usually have 1 fight every 4 months to recuperate your body nowadays.
Anthony, it's so different now, man. These guys, I keep trying to tell, when you're young, you got to stay active, strong, and healthy. Stay active, because somewhere along the career, you're gonna get hurt your hand. You're gonna hurt, just as long as you're strong and you're healthy, stay active early in your career. So build up, to keep fighting, to learn your craft. Travel, you can't be fighting. You can't learn to fight in Youngstown, Ohio, and you can't learn to fight in Youngstown, Ohio once every 3, 4, 5 months. You got to move. You got to bounce. Go around let people see you around the country. So I don't understand why a lot of these young guys aren't fighting as often, especially the pros. I'm looking at guys now. I worked for the PBC on Fox 2 years ago, right? And they fight once, twice a month, and I'm thinking you can never gain a legacy by only fight once or twice a month. I'm sorry, a year. I'm sorry, not a month. A year. You can't get. Now they got paid well. They got paid very well to sit. That's why I think these guys, they were getting paid well to sit. But you can't get any momentum in your career. You can't develop a legacy, and people they ain't gonna know your name in a month from now. So I don't understand the game anymore. I don't understand how they're doing it, why they're doing it, and I don't understand how fighters allow it.
Well, in one thing is you were 1 year, probably a year and a half away from, as you love drinking your wine, we're all Italians.
Well, Anthony, real fast. I just finished working out. Now, I have my water, but I always do this. I drink my water, but then shortly after, I have a glass of wine. But after I work out. But people go, no, it's just the thing for me. I like it. It makes me relax. I feel like I deserved it, so it's worth it. You know what I mean? It's a mental thing. I worked hard.
Nothing wrong with that.
I drink my water. Don't get me wrong. I hydrate, but then I drink my wine right after.
There's nothing wrong with that. No, so one thing that really I think we're looking now, kind of during your career, and we're looking at 1981. It would have been May 16th, if I'm correct.
That's right.
You actually were going to fight. I think it's George Morales or George. I can't say the first name.
But it is George in English, but in Spanish it's Jorge. Jorge
Jorge,
Morales.
Morales, on May 16th, 1981, for the title. What did that feel like going into your very first title? Like, I'd love to know, like, what comes into someone's head when you're going into that fight.
We were just talking about how I fought 3 times in January of 1980. I fought 12 times that year. So I averaged once a month. I was 16-0 going into the beginning of the year. And then I was supposed to fight January, but it got canceled. I was supposed to fight in Atlantic City. It got canceled of 1981. So I was, like I said, I was 16-0. And then my brother got killed in February 14th, Valentine's Day. And
sorry to hear that.
That was the hardest thing to go through at that time, or still to this day. And so you go through it. And so I was training. So my brother got killed. It was a Saturday. I come home Sunday morning. Funerals Monday and Tuesday. We bury him on Wednesday. I leave on Thursday to go back to New York. And I told my manager, my trainer, give me a fight right away. Give me a fight. I got to fight, because that's, for me, that's how I get through it.
Keep your mind occupied.
Sure. And my manager, so it came up, a couple days later, opportunity to fight as the headline, the main event fight at the Madison Square Garden Felt Forum. Now, the Madison Square Garden, they have the big arena upstairs, but underneath they had the Felt Forum, which seated about 3,500 people. And
I did not know
that's how
that.
they get showcased. I'm sorry.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah, that's how they get showcased. Now it's called the Microsoft Theater. Underneath Madison Square Garden, but that's how you get started on the clap. Then once you hit a certain point, you get to the big show, to the big arena on top, right? So, so it was there for years. I used to go there and watch the other guys fight, at the Forum. So I'm now, we get offered to be the headline fight for March 12th, 1981. And my brother dies less than a month. And I go back and I told, give me a fight. So Dave comes to Griff, my manager, David Wolf, comes to my trainer, Murphy Griff, to myself, said, we got the opportunity to be the main event fighter. What do you think? I said, take the fight. And Griff said, yeah, take it. For me, I had to know. I had to get back in it right away. I have to know. And Griff felt the same way. And my opponent is a guy named Norman Goins. They call him Stormin' Norman Goins from Indianapolis. But then Norman Goins had been a national amateur champion. He was a contender. He had just fought Howard Davis on national TV the year before, dropped Davis twice, lost a decision. So, big puncher. And everyone said I should have been fighting a puncher. But I had to know, can I still fight? What happens when I get hit with a shot? I don't know. I want to know. Griff wants to know. So that's the fight. And so I'm training hard. And a big build up. My mother and father come up. And I fight. It's my first fight in New York where my father made his name. And so I go out there, and it's the first jump on Norman Goins. We have a war first round. Boom. It is I knock him down. We have a war first round. Second round, come out, boom, 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 boom. I catch him a shot, drop him, knock him down. He gets back up, I jump on him, bang, 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 bang. The referee steps, and I hit him in a hell of a shot. He goes down. I hit him in a hell of a lift. He goes down. The referee stops the fight. We celebrate, and then we have the press conference. So now we're to celebrate. Now we go back for a press conference, and I'm sitting. Funny story. I'm there celebrating. My parents are there to come, and Ray Arcel, my father. Ray Arcel is considered the greatest trainer ever. He trained him from Benny Leonard to Jack to even worked with Larry Holmes later on in his career. Roberto Duran, from Benny Leonard to Roberto Duran he was training Roberto Duran. Him and Freddie Brown were my father's trainers, and now they he's at this fight. So it's very emotional for me. It's my first fight back, and I apologize. I don't mean to do this. I don't mean to. I'm talking to you. I just get it. And so anyway, I'm gonna finish the story. So now, talking about the fight, my brother just passed. How emotional it is. Beep, ba 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 boop. So they get Ray Arcel. Ray, come on in. Ray, come up. And so Ray comes up. Oh, Ray Arcel comes. Anthony, you never know what's going to happen in this with me, right? I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. So Ray Arcel comes up, and Ray Arcel comes in and bring him to the upside. They go, Ray, he was my father's trainer. You know. They said, Ray, what did you think of the young Mancini? Oh, wonderful future ahead of him. Oh, wonderful fighter. Ray, remind you of his father? Oh, yes, reminded me of his father. Strong, aggressive, punch hard. Oh, yes. Ray, what would have happened if he would have fought his father? Oh, no. He could have never beaten his father. And I loved it. But it's true. It's true. I know that. But it's true. So,
but it's funny that it got brought up.
Yeah.
Like, you think you could beat your father? Oh yeah, no, yes, and then everyone just throws in their opinions.
Oh no, he could have never beaten his father. After a big victory, So I loved it. You know, Anthony, I apologize for the confusion. The reason I grabbed my phone and I looked down. If you don't mind me saying, I'm going to give a plug. It's a shameless plug. My son's on Facebook right now. Why? Because my son Ray Jr., he is a fashion designer. And he just dropped his first line of clothes today as we speak. He's on Instagram talking about it. And his website's up. You go on, it's all e-commerce.
What's the website for our viewers?
It's called www.liveonthelegacy.com. Liveonthelegacy.com. And
there you go.
Interesting. He has about 11 pieces, but it's all athleisure wear, which is the number one thing. Active wear, athleisure wear. And it's boxing inspired. A lot of it's after my career, and I'm very flattered. Yes, like my boxing trunks. He took replicas. Red with the black with the red stripe, white with the
well. It's funny. It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that because so as you know, you came to our boxing charity event for the Hope Foundation, and we had Kelly there. We had Kelly Pavlik, a former heavyweight. We had yourself, and we actually did a boxing for charity. We had a lot of some pros there and stuff like that, and I was trained by Tommy Cordell from Struthers and some others at the downtown gym. Right. And I will tell you this, I did training for a month and a half or 2 months. It's intense. If you really want a good workout and you want to know what these guys go through, I like to say this. I was the headliner, which I don't know why, fighting Jimmy Lowboy, who's half my size. I will say this. That was my debut in retirement, all on the same night.
What did you say you fight Love Boy?
Low Boy. Yeah. Low Boy.
Oh, Low Boy. Not Doughboy. Doughboy.
No, and it was a good time. It's all raised money for chronically and terminally ill kids. So it was a good time. We had I think 2,000 or 3,000 people there. So it was a good time and everything like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and Ray, what did it feel like once you kind of got to that stage of winning your first lightweight champion of the world? What did that feel like? Your accomplishment and everything like that.
Euphoric. Anthony, people ask about that. I said it was a euphoric feeling. It was like I was floating. You can't explain it. You got to experience it. But it was the greatest feeling of my life. I said I've only experienced that type of feeling 3 other times in my life. Each time one of my children were born. That was it.
Kind of on cloud 9.
It's a euphoric feeling. You always hear it. I used to hear the word about euphoria. Euphoria. until you experience it. And then you know what a euphoric feeling. You know how great it is. You know what a good feeling is, a great feeling. But then you know a euphoric feeling. It takes you to a whole different level. It's like you float. Sometimes it's like an out-of-body experience. You know what I mean? That's what it's like.
Well, and let's talk about kind of the roller coaster. You won 5 titles. You probably 5 to 7 titles. It was a roller coaster ride when it came to retaining them. Retaining those, like some you retained.
Let me explain. I didn't win 5 titles. I won 2 titles. I mean, North American title, and I defended it twice. And then I won the world lightweight title, and I defended it 5 times. So that's we say 5-time champion. I'm not the 5-time. But I defended it 5 times.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I just want to say, people think, where's all these titles out of? No, that's why on the back of me, the one on top is the North American. The one on the bottom is the world lightweight title. And then several years ago, I went to WBA convention in Peru, South America, Peru, right? And they presented with me, and I'm going to try to see if you can see this, with the super champion belt. They said because I defended it so many times, and I represented it for them, and I represented as a multiple champion for them. So they gave me the super belt, which I was very flattered, very honored. They don't give that to many people, so only certain guys have it. So that's, I didn't win that in the ring. I only won the first 2 here in the ring. But my point is, it means it means the world. It means the world to me.
Well, I know one thing that you probably, and I talked to you about this a while back, is that in 2015 you were actually inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame, which you said was a true honor. Talk a little bit about that experience.
Anthony, Cleveland. Cleveland now got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I said, Canton has the football. We know that Cooperstown got baseball. Springfield got the NBA. But there was never a boxing Hall of Fame. And they actually started one back in LA. Like they had they call it the World Boxing Hall of Fame. And I made that in the 90s. But it's in it was like in a room in a hotel. They let you they show pictures. It was lovely. Don't get me wrong. I will never do it. So honored. I was at World Boxing Hall of Fame. And I got inducted in that in the 90s. But we didn't have a permanent home. And the gentleman named Ed Brophy from Canastota, were the home of Carmen Basilio and Billy Backus, 2 world champions, created it. And they made it the permanent Hall of Fame. And so now they come from all over the world every year to be, it's like everywhere they come for football or whatever. That's ours. And this town, it's the 1 month or 1 weekend a year that these people are the face of the boxing world. So that meant the world to me. And so all my heroes and all my friends of mine, but my heroes that I looked up to are in there. And that's what you guys do. I never thought of being inducted in the Hall of Fame. I never thought of myself as a Hall of Famer. And I'm not saying that with false modesty. And the reason I've said this before is because I didn't think my career warranted it in the sense that it didn't last. When I think of Hall of Famers, I think of longevity. Guys who fought 10 years, 12, 15 years. Guys so in other sports, played a long time, 10, 15 years. My whole career was 5 years. That's it. And so when they called me and told me I got inducted, when they first told me I was on the ballot, I thought, well, that's it, man. That's everything to me. Then I got a call a month later that I got the induction, first ballot, inducted. And I said, wow. And I just said to the gentleman who called me, he was a reporter, as I said to you, I didn't think my career warranted it. He said to me, no, I disagree. He said, it wasn't the quantity of your fights, it was the quality of your fights. I said, I'll take it then. I'll take it. And so, that meant the world to me because it's who would have thunk it, right? Who would have thunk it? And so everything that I had trained for, everything I prayed for, everything I strived for, everything I visualized since I was 8 years old, 9 years old, everything for my father, for my family, for the city of Youngstown, everything came to fruition. It's just, it was a very emotional time for me. And I appreciate it. I can't tell you. So if anybody that's driving through by Canastota, because the Hall of Fame is right off the freeway, off of 90. It's right off of 90. Pull in. You'll love it.
Yeah, and it's funny because we talk about that you had a lot of quality fights, but in the last year, there's not been very many fights because of the pandemic.
No.
At all.
And, you know, it's funny you said that. If the people say to me, if I was fighting now, would I fight in front of an empty crowd? Would I be in a fair arena? I said I wouldn't want it to, because I'm one of them fighters who fed off the crowd. And I've said this many times. I don't know if you've heard me. I've said it. I put it in print. The people of Youngstown carried me a lot farther than I wanted to go at times, and that's God's truth. But you hear them saying sometimes your body's tired, hurting in a fight, but you know you're doing it for a purpose. The people of Youngstown, my family, they're cheering for me, so you know you got to do it. I said, I don't know, man, if I could have done it. I mean, I would have had to, obviously, but I wouldn't have liked it by no means.
Well, we know that right now there is a lot going on with a lot of lockdowns across the area, and that's put a lot of stress on people. And next year will be nearly 40 years for something that happened 40 years ago. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Would I like to? No, I wouldn't like to, but if you're asking me to, I would.
I'd love
you gotta lead me into it. I ain't gonna bring it up. You gotta lead me into it. You want to know something? Ask. Just ask. I'm an open book.
Exactly. And we if people don't know, is you won a fight about 40 years ago, and the individual that you were fighting, from what I was heard, it was a great fight. It was a great fight between good two great boxers. Unfortunately, the boxer passed away 3 or 4 days later. What was that? What was that fight like in general?
Well, Anthony, the fight you're talking about was the Korean Dooku Kim. Let me go back. When my manager sent me, you know, one thing I'm proud of. The one thing I'm proud of too, out of my title defenses, out of my 7 title defenses, I fought the number one contender 5 times. Number one contender. So mandatory title defense. So he was in my mandatory. My manager David Wolf sent me a tape. He said, "Take a look." I'm very good at that stuff. Looking at the fighter, and I can dissect the fighter because pretty good. I just for the reason I'm able to do that. But I was watching this guy throwing punches, knocking. About 2 rounds, I turned off, called my manager, said, "Okay, make the fight." I mean, we had to make the fight. I said, "All right, let's move forward." And I said, "It's going to be a war. It's going to be a headache. It's going to cause a lot of problems for me, but let's do it." So you prepare yourself mentally because you know what you're going in against. Look, I couldn't have an easy fight, Anthony. That was not my style. It depended on my opponent. If my opponent was going to come to war with me, my trainer taught me, my Murphy Griffith taught me 2 ways. I'm coming out, meet you at center ring. If you want to war with me, we're going to war until one of us backs up. If you back up on me, then I'm going to follow you, cut you down, cut off the ring, and find you, cut you down, take you out. So either way, I know what I got to do. But I ain't giving, it mentally, whoever controls center ring, that's a big thing. So I wasn't going to let anybody control center ring but me. And if you're going to, sometimes you go out there and it's a war for the first couple of rounds. That's what it is. That's what it was with this guy. He came out, hit me over the left hand. First punch, he hit me with straight left hand, knocked me back. Here we are, it's on. And they all say about this. I've also said this. Well, people are fighting for their country. They're fighting for a lot more than just themselves. So they are fighting you're fighting the whole country, because this guy's carrying his whole country on his back. And I knew what I was up against. So the place was, and plus this was the first fight at the permanent outdoor facility at Caesar's Palace. What I mean by that is they always would, fights like Larry Holmes versus Jerry Cooney, Ray Leonard, and Tom Harris. They resurrected an outdoor facility, and then they tear it down.
Okay.
This was the permanent first fight at the permanent outdoor facility, and not a lot of people knew who Kim was, but the Korean community did. So they came from LA, all over California, and we had over 12,000 people there, man. 12,000 people over 16,000 foot reach. So we almost sold it out. I'm very proud of that, of a guy that nobody knew of. But I knew what I was in against. And I prepared that way mentally. And it's weird because, you find out so many things later on. But I was in the dressing room, and his dressing room was like on the other side. We were behind outdoor at Caesar's Palace. And also I hear, he's bang, bang, bang. The lockers, everything's shaking, the whole building's shaking. And as I'm loosening up Shadowbox, I look over to my trainer and to my team, guys, Tank and Chuck Fagan. I go, I guess we're in for a tough one tonight, huh? And they start, try to make a joke of it because, you know what you're up against. I did not know that earlier in the week they had written things. He had written on a lampshade in his room, "Kill or be killed." He wrote that. He had, I don't know if he made it or he bought a little coffin, a miniature coffin. He had it underneath the bed. And he pulled it out. One of the reporters said to him, "What's that?" And Kim said to him, either I'm getting carried out or Mancini's getting carried out of that. And I didn't know this beforehand, and thank God I didn't. That's, that's what. So people say, was it prophecy? Was it? I'm not getting caught up in that stuff. It was a war between two guys. He was fighting for his country. I was fighting for something I had fought my whole life for. And style-wise, similar. And that was the only fight I tell people with Anthony. That was I never thought of quitting during a fight. In a fight, you don't think that way. But this is the only fight I ever thought of quitting it because my head was hurting so bad. We were banging heads. We were banging. My body was hurting so bad. But it's funny how the body's I always say the body's the army, the mind's the general. The body will do whatever the mind tells it to do. And but the next one I'd say, no, one more round, boom, bell rang, get up and go. And but that fight, it took its toll on me mentally, emotionally. For me personally, everything that was good about boxing, I loved the sport. I loved my sport. I loved it. I loved being a fighter. But after that, there was nothing good about it for me. So I lost the love. And like any time you lose the love, I was married to my career for a long time. But like any marriage, when you lose love, you got to walk. So I had lost the love. And slowly, after that, it became a business for me. And that's when it became a business. And once I knew I had my financial security, that's when I said I left. That's why my career was only 5 years. And that's when I moved on. And I was only 24 when I retired. But like I said, I had no love for it. So, but that was I always knew that was going to be one chapter of my life, not my whole life. Chapters. Every life is, you have different chapters of your life. And, there's no business to be staying in your 30s. My father used to tell me at 28, you're a young man, but an old fighter if you keep fighting. Young man, but an old fighter. Well, Napoleon once said, now, Anthony, you didn't know I could quote Napoleon, did you?
Oh, yes. You quote a lot of things.
Because
right?
I'm an educated pugilist.
Yes, you are.
Napoleon once said, and if you think of it, it's the same thing my father said. He said, Napoleon once said, after 30, a man's spirit is not made for war. What does that mean? It means your life. What does that mean? It means your life changes. That's what my father said. At 28, you're a young man, but a no fighter. Your life changes. At 30, you're thinking about marriage and kids, and 28, and so it's a different mentality. So
just out of curiosity, how many rounds?
15.
And so they,
that's another thing about fighting. People say the Kim fight was a precipice for it go from 15 rounds to 12 rounds, and they say that. But I said the last 15-round fight was 1986. That's 4 years later. That's a slow process, ain't it? So worried about saving people.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it was on national TV. I get it. I was the so-called, I was a big attraction, but nobody looked at it. It wasn't a one-way fight. It wasn't I blew the guy away. It was
no. It was back and forth.
And Anthony, if that didn't happen, what happened? It would be one of those fights you see replayed on ESPN all the time. It's fight one of the best fight. It was a great fight.
An ESPN classic.
Right. It was a great fight. It was a great win. But after that happened, there was nothing good about it. Nothing.
Well, let me ask you this question. We did talk a little bit that you talked about the mental after state after that. How did you? And you said you were looking at you really were thinking about quitting after that fight. Kind of right now, people are going through that with the mental and depression. What's that? How did you really kind of move forward and really you had a lot of friend support, talked about it?
Okay, hold on there. 1 second. Carm, I'm doing a podcast right now. Yeah, but
you're on TV.
But I saw right. Okay, back. Anthony, I'm sorry, man. Hey, this is a beautiful thing. You never know what's gonna get. That's the great thing about going live. But we'll edit this stuff.
But just to get back is we talked about how after the fight you were thinking of quitting, you kind of mental and depression. Yeah. How did you kind of move forward in general? Because I think what helps is your story to tell other people that, hey, this is what helped me because of what everything people are going through now.
Anthony, like I said, I lost love for it. And I had to dwell on think about it, because I said, the one thing that kept bothering me more than anything is why him and not me? It was a toe-to-toe fight. He was catching me as many punches I was catching him. Why him and not me? And who's to say it won't be me next time? Because my style is not going to change. I only know one way to fight. So that bothered me a lot. And I didn't know, if I had the heart or the mindset to go back into it. And one of the people I talked to the most was a gentleman that people know in Youngstown, very popular, and his father, Tim O'Neill, who's not only my teacher at Carter Mooney, he was like my personal, I would say he's my personal priest, but my personal spiritual advisor. And I'd speak to him and call him out, and he was at every fight. Him and my father would be the only two guys allowed back in my dressing room. And before they go out, 5 minutes out, father would bring my father back in the back to see me. And then when they give me the 5 minutes, 5 minutes before we go out, Father O'Neill and my father, I give my father a hug and kiss. And Father O'Neill would say a blessing over me. And it gave me some sense of security, peace, like I was being protected. And they'd leave. So during this time, I was father talking to him quite a bit. I wasn't talking to too many people. And I'll never forget, during this time, my mother, she'd call me, she'd be crying to me. She'd be crying her eyes out. She'd say, Raymond, I wish there was something I could do. I could say. I said, Ma, there ain't. I got to get through this on my own. And I will, but you got to let me. So, it's hard to see a child go through that, as I have children, obviously. I'm in their pain. So, Father O'Neill said to me, I told him how I was feeling. He said, look, if you're asking me if you should quit, he says, that's a question for you to answer. Only you can answer. He said, but I think God gave you a gift, a special gift. And he said, and you gave you a special talent. But your gift is to the people of this city. You give them hope. Because at that time, Anthony, when you were still playing with your pacifier, people in the town were later, there was depression. The steel mill shut down, 77. It was only 2 years removed from me being when I started my career. So we were at the worst. And in 82, we were at the highest unemployment we've been, 28%. 1 every 4 people were out of work. And so he said, the people need something to hold on to. He said, I think you're that thing, you're that person. And I never thought of it that way. And he says, I think if you give up fighting, you're denying God's gift to you. I think God gave you this gift for a purpose. And he said, and your purpose is to help these people get through this time. He said, if you quit, you're denying God, you're denying these people your gift, and you're denying God's gift. And I mean, that hit me hard. That meant a lot to me. And I'm not trying to get onto the spiritual thing. People say, oh, man. No. Anthony, why? I don't know why. I won the title because of hard work, dedication. In my mind, I dreamed about it since I was 8, 9, 10 years old from day one. Psychologists have a fancy name now. It's called positive mental visualization. If you can dream it, if you can believe it, you can be it. I said, hell, man, I always thought it was called dreaming. Just having a dream, right? But following the dream. So when Father Neil told me that, it hit me hard, And I thought about it, and I said, God gave me this chance. All I want to get is my financial security. I want to get. And so I kept fighting, but it became a business for me after. There was no love for it. And that's why it became a business. And then once I knew my financial security, I knew it was good. That's why after I lost my title I was going to find, when I found them in Stone Bramble, show you how I thought like a fighter, not a businessman. They were going to pay Bramble step aside money, which was common back then. Pay him step aside, and then I was going to fight Hector Camacho. And he would get the winner of Camacho. And now Camacho was the one fight I always wanted. I couldn't stand him at the time. Now, later on, we became good friends. But I couldn't stand him. He couldn't stand me. And I would have beat him. I would have walked him down. I would have beat his ass. But it didn't happen at the time it should have. So the WBA got threatened. Duvas, the Bramble's people said, came to them and whatever they said. So the WBA said, hey, if you don't fight Bramble, you're going to strip you of the title. Well, at that time, titles meant everything. You had to have a title. Nowadays, don't mean nothing. You can fight. They just want to see the best fights. Yeah, don't have a title, so what? But it meant everything. So that's why I fought. And then, of course, my manager said, no, we'll fight. We'll figure a way. I said, no. We'll get Bramble. I'll beat Bramble. We'll go right to Camacho. Because after Bramble, I saw fights. There was nothing special about Bramble. Just a strong guy, tough guy standing in front of you. Well, but it just didn't work out that night. It just didn't work out the way we had hoped. And
it's you look at kind of everything you've done in your career. You've had, and we look at what you've gone through, what you've accomplished, the highs and lows. What advice can you give someone on an overall level about dreams, about like you talked a little bit about that, and about how to really be good at what you do and accomplish what you do? Because if anyone's going to have highs and lows. I have highs and lows. Everyone has. So what advice can you give our viewers in general about things in life?
It's funny. People always say to me, how did you get through that time? That time I was just talking about when I was going through after the fight with Kim, and how did I decide to move on? The only thing you get through with this, how I got through it was with my faith in Christ. So you got to have something to hold on to. You got to have something that's your anchor. My faith has always been my anchor. This city of Youngstown, we're a city of family, friends, and faith. That's what we are. That's what this town's about. And faith is everything, man. And so, I didn't go to parochial school for 12 years just for, when I'm learning something.
Especially at Cardinal Mooney.
St. Dominic's first. St. Dominic's 8 years. Cardinal Mooney my last 4. But what I'm saying that is you have to have a faith. You got to believe in something. You got to believe in higher power. And I believe in my Lord Jesus Christ. And so that carried me. If without my faith, I don't know. I can't tell you. But it grounded me. And I didn't understand it, but I relied on my faith. I'd pray. I'd say my prayers. And it gave me solace, man. It gave me peace, And even at this time, it's something, there's a day I don't go without thinking of Kim, his memory. But, I move on. And that's the thing. Some people never move on. Now, there's been other fighters since that it's happened to. And people always call me or their managers or trainers or people who could you reach out? And I said, absolutely. And I'll call these guys. And eventually they say, Ray, what do I do? That's usually the first. Ray, how'd you get to what? I don't know how to get through this. I don't know what I'm going to do. Here's what you do. Give it a couple days. Mourn it. You mourn the passing of this guy. You know you're part of it. You can't say I wasn't. You were. But you learn to forgive yourself. I learned to forgive myself, Anthony. It wasn't something that was intentional, by no means. But I was part of it. So I learned to forgive myself. And as I learned, it's like Father Neil told me, we don't understand why God allows things to happen. But they do. And if some things happen to us, but we learn to forgive ourselves. So it's like the guy who's driving down the street. A young child runs out from behind a car. The guy hits the child dies. Wasn't intentional, by no means. But does the guy grieve that? He grieves it. Of course he grieves it. But it wasn't intentional. He didn't mean it. And he has to learn to forgive himself. Because it's something that happened. And God allowed it to happen for whatever reason. And it did. So the guy has to learn to forgive. And that's it. So once you learn to forgive yourself, you move on. And once I tell the people that, you'll get through it. But learn to forgive yourself. And something, and later on I've gotten people texting me and calling me back saying that how much it helped.
Well, I actually appreciate that advice, and I hope especially what people are going through right now, lost their jobs, don't know what's going on. So I do appreciate you sharing that information with our viewers.
Can I say one thing? You just made a point. You said about people who lost their jobs. I was with Fox. 2019, I traveled over 100,000 miles, right? Worked every 26 shows. I got rehired. I got re-upped last year. I didn't work one. When everything hit, they said, Ray, we're not going to bring you out. We're going to just use local guys, in LA. We're not traveling nobody. So I didn't work one time. And then this year, I didn't get re-upped. So my point is, everything I do is travel, make appearances, personal appearances, signings, commentary. Everything I do is gone. What are you gonna do? So is it hard for me? Do I feel like wow, I let my family down? Yeah, I feel like I'm not, but that's not my fault. And I ain't gonna let anybody let me think it's my fault. Circumstances happen. Thank God I got things going. But so what I'm saying is for anybody out there who lost their job, and their family members or they themselves think that it's my fault, or you allow family members to berate you and say, well, you should be out there. You should be out. No, man, you do what you do. You know what you do. One thing in this life, I tell people, when I travel, I talk, I do motivational talks. One thing, a couple things you have to, one, know who you are. Know who you are and what you are. I know who I am and what I am. Two, and don't let anybody tell you anything else that make you think you're something different, or that you're anything different, or brave. And it could be family members. You know how many family members I've had a beef with over this past year? Why you should be looking for a job? I said, I have no problem working. I said, look, I'll be a waiter. I'll wait. I admire waiters. I admire the people who do that. I'll be a waiter. Tell me what restaurant I should be a waiter at. Tell me, where should I get up? Should I be a maitre d'? I'll be the host. I'll be a maitre d'. Where? Or should I do what I do? And let me stick with what I do. Let those who do. One thing I learned in business, and it's the best business advice I ever got. Let those who do. I don't do what you do. You don't do what I do. You do what you do very well. I like to think I do what I do well. So stick with what you do. But I hate this point. Stay in your lane. How many times stay? That's just bullshit. Stay in your lane. I said, I live in California. Here's the analogy I use. You're driving on the 405. It gets backed up and that happened often. It gets backed up. You're staying, right? And you're stuck in traffic, right? But you look over, the other 2 lanes are they're all clear. Do you change lanes? Yes, you change lanes. You don't stay in your lane. You know why you change? Same thing in life. Job, you're doing one job, you do a job. All of a sudden, you got fired for a job, or your job's no longer. The company discontinued. What do? You change lanes. You know why? The only way you get ahead to get where you want to be is by changing lanes. You move over. You go forward to get up. That's stay in your lane. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I can't stand when people say that shit. Oh God!
But you know what? I think
adjust to adapt. But football players, I'm going off, and I'm gonna let you talk. I apologize. When you're a quarterback at the front line, at the line of scrimmage, look and see the quarterbacks. They're called audibles for a reason. It's an audible. You change the play to make it better. What you see isn't working. What you see you don't think is gonna work. So you call it audible to make it work. Change lanes. Call it audible. Do something different.
And a perfectly good example of that is that you've branched out as a business person from a commentary. You have your own wine brand,
right?
And that's something that you started. I talk a little bit about, because I think people think, hey, yeah, you're a business guy. You're boxed. You have your own business, but you also know wine.
Well, first of all, and I appreciate it. Well, first, I'm in the entertainment business. I've been in entertainment for 30 years. I'm a production entity. I'm very close. Now, I produce for studios. I produce for MGM. I produce for foreign brothers. I produce independent stuff. I've done it, and we're going to continue to do it. And pretty soon there'll be a big announcement, Nancy. Pretty soon, but I don't go into it now because it convolutes it. But soon enough.
Oh, come on! I want a big announcement.
I'll give you. Believe me, you'll be one of the first guys to know. Trust me.
Thank you.
My point being is this: is that so now I got into the wine business in 2010, and how I got into that is because I'm a wine drinker. So I was approached by a company by doing my own label, my own personal company. I said, yeah. I said, but I have to have the input. He said, what? I said, I'm not just lending my name. I'm being in California for 30 years. Well, at that time was 20 plus years. I said, I'm fairly knowledgeable about wines. I'm fairly knowledgeable about wines, and I go to a lot of wineries, and I go to wine tastings. So yes, I could talk about it. And so we did, and I started, and you taste it, and you go, no, that's not the one, that's not the one. And you go, oh, that's the one. So it's my signature on it. And then we started that, and so the wines that now we had our 5th vintage. Now we're getting ready to start our 6th vintage. That's why round 1, round 4, 5, round 5, because that's 5th vintage. But I also have a bourbon company, as you know. Now people say, "Oh, I said, no, I'm not in the liquor business." I didn't think of it, but it's a branch because I'm a teetotal. I'm a wine drinker. But at night, when I'm sitting around smoking my cigar, I had a cigar company for a long time, and I'm looking to get back into that again. So it's a lifestyle company. You understand that thing? So I said, at night, when you sit around at night, especially on these cool winter nights, you're with friends talking. I don't drink wine. I drink bourbon on the rocks, man, or bring it straight up. Bourbon neat. Ain't nothing better. Because bourbon is a drink of success. It's a drink that you're not banging down 4 or 5. You're nursing it, man. 1, maybe 2, right? And bourbon is, what goes with a cigar, or it's a conversation. When you sit around and have a conversation, bourbon is great, man. It's a gentleman's drink. So I have a bourbon company, Boom Boom Bourbon. We are at all Giant Eagles locally and Premier Chalet and all that. Now I said I'm not in the liquor business, but I guess I am now.
And like you said, it's a lifestyle.
And I just became a minority partner in a new tequila company called One with Life Tequila. Go on, it's all in all the social media. We just came out last week. One with Life. just remember OW. And OW is our logo.
Oh, that's good.
One with life. It is organic. And, I'm not a big...
Ooh, tequila that's organic. I like that.
If you would like it, I think it's bug. When you go to a Mexican restaurant, right, you got to have a margarita. That's all tequila, right? So you go to like Mexican food like I do. I like all food, but I love Mexican food, right? You got to have a tequila with it, man. So that's my point. You go, when I have my Italian food, the pasta, whatever, I drink my wine. I drink my wine every night, usually. But you drink your bourbon at night when you have a cigar, you're relaxing, when you're a gentleman discussing life's, the discovery of life, right? We're discussing. So you have bourbon. But now when you have your food, tequila, man, One With Life tequila, go on the site, One With Life. One With Life tequila. You're going to like it. And I'm a minority partner.
I'll have to try that since I divorced.
Teofimo Lopez, Maureen Shea, she's a woman.
Well, since I divorced most of tequila and whiskey when I was in college, so I divorced it.
Yes, there you go. See, I appreciate you letting me have that very unsolicited commercial.
No problem. I appreciate it. I'll ask this. So what's the future of Ray Boom Boom Mancini? What's coming down the pipeline that you can tell us?
Anthony, I'm going to tell you a funny story. I just turned 60, March 4th. A couple weeks ago, right?
You only look 39.
Yeah, my man. But how about this? This is what I'm talking about. This is true. That day, morning of my birthday, I'm watching the news. My wife, we have it on, the morning news on, watch Channel 21, morning news. And the other thing, they're talking about now for COVID testing. For those who are 60 and older, you're eligible for COVID testing. Now I'm watching. I go, oh man, that's me now. Because it was trippy because it's like you're talking about something, they were talking about somebody else. It took me a couple seconds to hit. I was like, that's me. Now I'm in that group. I just started the fourth quarter. We're at the start of the fourth quarter. Man, I can't wait to see, because I only got another 30, 40 years to go. Man, but
Italians will be over 100.
Hey, that's the plan, Stan. Look, Anthony, I got so many things I want to accomplish. I pray to God that I'm able to accomplish most of them, some of them. I hope, pray for God willing, all of them. But everything changes now. I'm not looking to be a star. I'm not looking to be. I just want to be accomplished. I have dreams and goals I want to accomplish, and that's it. And still, because that's the juice for me, man. It's all about Anthony, it's all about the journey, man. It ain't about the destination. We know the destination. We know that. It's all about the journey. And I'm loving the journey.
I know exactly what you mean, and I appreciate you sharing your story tonight, and I appreciate everything. I appreciate you taking time to be on.
My pleasure. I appreciate that.
Not a problem. At the very end, I like to have some fun with my guests. Are you up for a couple quick questions?
Sure.
So the question can be personal or professional. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong answers. So best experience.
Winning the world title and winning the world title. Yeah. Well, seeing each one of my children born. Again, they're both right there. One,
like we talked about a little bit earlier.
One's professional, right?
Right. What's your best memory?
Winning the world title. Seeing each one of my children born.
Okay. What would be your best accomplishment then? The same?
The accomplishment is winning the world title on a professional level, personal level. I don't think I've accomplished it yet, but I'm still in the process of being the best father and grandfather I can be now. I mean, that's, we all want to be the best we can for our kids, right? I like to think I've been a good father. And I got a granddaughter, so I'm being the best grandfather for her. I want to be the best husband for my wife. I liked it so much I did it twice. The first time I thought I was a good husband. Obviously I wasn't, because it didn't end well. I mean, we're still very close. Me and my ex-wife, we're still very close. But it's pain of going through that defeat. because a divorce is a defeat. You lost your marriage. You lost, man, and I don't want to lose anything, and that hurt, And thank God I had, my ex-wife was a great lady, great wife, great mother, and still great lady. But we just disconnected somewhere along the way. So there's the personal failure, but and that's life, right? But then, thank God, the good Lord gave me another great wife, and I got a great lady in my wife in my life now. It's a great lady, great wife, great mother, to her own children. So we don't have any children together. I have 3, she has 3. Together we're the Brady Bunch, But I think that's my greatest accomplishment is being the best father I can be, and then hopefully this time I'll be the best husband I can be.
Okay, I appreciate that. As I have I won't say it. Yeah, my wife would kill me if I said what I was going to say. I'll just leave it at that. Who's your role model?
Everyone's wondering, Anthony, what were you going to say? I'm going to text him. This kid, come on, man. You can't leave people hanging that way. Your wife, you can handle your wife.
Not a word. Who's your role model?
My father.
Okay.
My father was everything, as I said earlier, everything I wanted to be as a man, as a father, as a husband, everything.
Okay, last question. If there was one person you would want to meet, past or present, who would it be and why?
Jesus Christ. Because, but it's just funny you said that, Anthony, because I've said this. People always say, who's good? Jesus Christ. But then then I say to myself, well, that's not really true, because in my life, I believe that I'm going to. So, if it wasn't Jesus Christ, then it would be, I got 3. So you got to get him here. It would be Babe Ruth, Al Capone, or Hitler. And the reason I say Hitler, because I was once asked, if I had a dinner party, who would be the 4 guests? And those are the guys I said, Jesus Christ, Babe Ruth, Babe Ruth, Al Capone, and Hitler. And I said, because you got the greatest of good and the most evil of evil, and I just, how does it go? But Al Capone, how does this guy think? And Babe Ruth, Babe Ruth was bigger than life. In the 20s, the 3 biggest stars in the 20s of that decade were Babe Ruth, Al Capone, and maybe the president at the time, which I think was Truman, beginning of the 20s. So anyhow, but I'm just saying, these are the things, But if I had a dinner party, those are the 4 guests would be Jesus Christ, Capone, because again, Babe Ruth and Hitler, right? Capone, is the worst of the worst too. But there's got to be something good about these people. So why would I'd want to sit there and talk to them. How did your mind think? Why did you do what you think you did? You come from a loving family. You didn't start off being bad. You started being evil. How did you get to that point? And then Babe Ruth he was bigger than life. And then, Hitler, what?
Yeah.
You had a chance to go with United States. Well, that was Mussolini. It's just go to the United States or Hitler, baby. How did you get to this to want to rule the world? Well, how does that work?
Right.
Anyhow.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking time. This was a great conversation. I hope you had fun.
I did. I appreciate it. And I appreciate
not a problem.
That's the best fun.
Ray, thank you for having you. Everyone, we appreciate you taking time with us and listening to us. This was a great conversation. If you want to see more interviews, podcasts, or announcements, please go to anthonyvspano.com. Ray, stay on. Everyone, stay safe. God bless, and good